Hello, my name is Dr. Cindy Gutierrez, and I am the Director of Clinical Teacher Education and Partnerships here at the School of Education and Human Development. I welcome you all to your orientation and excited to have you get started. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how your program will work and what will your life look like as you engage in both the coursework and your residency internships. So on this slide, we'll walk through really what the next year or so will look like for you. For all of our graduate students, you'll be starting off in your first semester in pre-residency courses. These are foundations courses that really help you build background knowledge and understanding of really what it means to work with urban and diverse learners, families, and communities, as well as get you started on some of the language and everything that goes into thinking about teaching before you enter the classroom. For all of our undergraduates, you've already taken all of these earlier on during your freshman, sophomore, junior years. So you'll take those particular courses in your first semester of the program. Then right before you get ready to start your residency internships, you will come to an internship professional learning day. We call this IPLD for short. This is after you have been selected and notified of which school has selected you to be a resident. This gives you a chance to meet the other students who also were selected for their residency at that particular school, and it gives you a chance to really work with and meet your site professor and or site coordinator that day. It gives you lots of very practical skills about co-teaching, developing a great relationship with your clinical teacher as you get ready to get started, what to anticipate about all the components of how internships work, from the collaborative learning communities to how you'll be coached, to the different internship assessments. So it's a really critically important day. You'll be notified about that day in the coming weeks, and it will be sent via your CU Denver email through an Outlook calendar invite so that you can save it directly to your calendar. So then once you get started in the first semester of your residency year, you will always have one foot at the university in coursework and one foot as a resident interning in your particular school. Depending on your program plan, you'll have 3 to 5 courses that you will be taking in that first semester. Those courses primarily happen on Mondays and Tuesdays, and they can be a mixture of online, hybrid, and face-to-face. Again, it depends upon your program plan and the pathway and licensure area that you're going in. Some courses have some choices because there's multiple sections, a lot of different pathways all take that particular course, and some are very predetermined for your cohort or your licensure area. So while you're taking those courses on Mondays and Tuesdays, then again, you'll also be simultaneously embedded in your residency internship. What happens at the beginning of every semester is you engage in something called immersion weeks. This is where you actually will go full time at your school for 1 to 2 weeks before the university semester gets started. One of the things about being a teacher is that calendar of a K-12 school always is a little bit longer and starts before university's semester starts. So it's important that you get that chance to truly be immersed, a chance to get to know the school, really make a relationship with the clinical teacher you'll be working with. Also very quickly get to build relationships with students. We want you to see those first weeks of school and how schools get started, how the teacher starts out a particular school year and or the restart of a semester. So it's important for you to engage in that deep immersion. Then once the university semester gets started, you will then move down to your assigned days of the week. In internship 1, you'll go Wednesdays and Thursdays. Same thing in internship 2. This internship 1 is the first 8 weeks of your first semester, and internship 2 is the second 8 weeks of the semester. Again, you'll go all the way through the end of that semester. Please be aware that oftentimes you will go longer than the university semester ends, and so you're following that school district calendar. Then when you move into your second semester of the professional year residency, you'll have still some courses, a bit fewer, because your time in your residency internship really starts to increase. You will, again, primarily be Mondays and Tuesdays for those courses, and again, mixture of online, hybrid, and face-to-face. When you start that semester, same thing. We're going to immerse you full-time out at the school until the university semester starts so that you can, again, really ramp up your continued relationship development with students and with your clinical teacher and really be prepared because this internship gets far more intense. You'll notice your time increases. You'll move to Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays the first 8 weeks, and then Monday through Friday the second 8 weeks. When you're going full-time that second 8 weeks, that's when you have really gradually taken on the large majority of the responsibility of a teacher. You'll still have opportunities to co-teach with your clinical teacher, and you'll be planning for how that co-teaching happens, but you have really full-time responsibility just like a regular practicing teacher there. One of the things that's helpful to know in the first semester is you primarily have Fridays free. And the reason for that is we know that school districts really like to utilize our teacher candidates as substitutes. So it's a great opportunity for you to get more experience working in the classroom while also earning a little bit of money where you can actually substitute for pay on those Fridays. That's why we also encourage you to get a sub-license from CDE, and then into when you get selected by your district and your school, they'll help you get into the sub-pool in that district. So a couple of key points to remember then as you are engaging in the next year of your life. You will truly be living the life of a teacher. But again, one foot is as a resident and one foot is as a college student. So all of the courses that you have are highly coordinated with those residency year internships. The faculty design the courses so that the types of assignments you do are all primarily carried out at the internship site. So you're working on designing assessments, or you're designing lessons, or designing small group instruction. You are engaging in learner analyses and understanding how that works. You are engaging in a collaborative project with the department level team in your building, or the grade level team. So the assignments that you have in the courses are highly relevant because we know you have an immediate space to try them out at your residency internship site. Your schedule is also very much set for the year and is specific to your cohort. This is one of the differences that you might have remembered from earlier in your undergraduate experience where you're like, oh, I have to register right away because that class will fill up. We save all of the courses directly for you. They are coded for you to be able to register for. We don't want you to wait too long to get registered because it does limit your access to all of the information you need. I think it's important to know that oftentimes you will be expected to be prepared with having already initially read some information or done a little bit of an assignment even prior to that first day of class. Our faculty get started right away. There's no time to waste, and they will reach out to you, and you'll have access to your Canvas shells early to be able to do that. It's also important to remember that the professional development school that you'll be working in selects you to complete your residency internship, just like a real job. We've asked you to do all sorts of different pieces for us, everything from the admissions process where our residency school partners were part of that admissions process, so they got to see you in action. They've read your application files, and then you also completed information for us to help us identify a good match for you, where you got to tell us a little bit about you, some of your preferences, any extenuating circumstances, and that helps our schools make ultimate selections of candidates. You will know when you've been selected before, if you're doing this orientation during the spring semester and you'll start your professional residency, your internship in the fall, you'll know by the beginning of May who has selected you to do your internship. If you will be beginning your first residency, your internship in January, you'll know by the beginning of December. It's also important to know that the school selects you, and then every one of our schools has a unique process of then how do they match their residents to specific clinical teachers. Sometimes you might be working across an entire grade level or get a chance to work across several classrooms in a particular content department. Sometimes you'll work part of the semester with one teacher and then you'll switch down to another teacher. We want to give you a wide variety of experiences and the chance to see lots of classrooms and give you lots of support. But again, it really truly depends on each particular school. So please be on the lookout. The minute you are notified of which school has selected you for your residency internships, you'll get both an email from Rachel Cornelius, who is our teacher education manager and placement coordinator, that says this school has selected you, and then that school's site team, the site professor and site coordinators, will start communicating with you right away, and they'll let you know if there are additional steps that you need to take to help them further match you to a clinical teacher. So please, from now going forward, it is so critical that you are daily checking your email for CU Denver, and that includes checking that through the summer. It's also important to know that you, as I've mentioned before, you'll follow the K-12 school calendar for residency internships. This means that because they start earlier than we do, that's when you'll be expected to start. Many of our schools start school at the very beginning of August. So we really encourage you, do not plan outside family trips, vacations, those sorts of things. This is your residency year. All of our schools are expecting and depending on you to be there the entire time. So it is absolutely critical that you are ready to start when their calendar starts. You go as long as their calendar states as directed by the site team in that particular school. You also have to manage breaks in those different ways. So their winter break is far shorter than the university winter break. So you need to be ready to start right back after the January 1st holiday, even though CU Denver classes won't start until after Martin Luther King Day. Also, spring breaks would be different. Some schools take fall breaks. So you are expected to follow that K-12 school calendar throughout your year-long sequence of residency internships. You noticed as I walked through that previous slide that you're gradually increasing your time as you go through the program. Our whole model of a residency is one of a gradual release model, where you will have lots of opportunities to take small steps along the way and increase the level of responsibility that you have for planning and co-teaching and engaging in assessment and doing the grading and taking on all those roles of a teacher. It is important to know that you really are kind of like a shadow of your clinical teacher. So all of the expectations of that clinical teacher around attending faculty meetings, going to back to school night, parent-teacher conferences, you do all of those exact things. There are some times when you might experience a conflict between when some of those after types of school activities happen and you might have a class, and that's when you really want to reach out to your site professor and site coordinator to help you navigate that, because it really is critical that you don't miss class because there are so few classes. But we also recognize we might need to do a little bit of balancing so that you can be part of a back to school night or a parent-teacher conference or something like that. For all of our elementary and early childhood teacher candidates, you'll stay in the same school that picks you at the very beginning of your residency internships all the way through the entire year, because we can really primarily get you access to all the different age levels and grade levels in that one particular school. But if you are secondary or special education, what we do is we work to actually switch you between schools from the first semester to the second semester. So secondary, your license is grades 7 through 12. And so it's really important as much as possible that we can do to make sure you get to be part of a middle school as well as part of a high school experience so that you can see either one. For special education, your license is serving ages 5 to 21. That's a huge range. So we want to make sure that you have the chance to experience minimally in elementary school and either middle or high school so that you have that broader experience. We do our very best for special ed and secondary to save your final internship, which is more intense, longer, all of those sorts of things, for the level of an age level of students that you hope to ultimately pursue your career in. So if you think, you know, high school is really where I want to be, we do our best to save your high school experience for that level. Same thing for special education. Doesn't always work out 100% that way. It's absolutely more important to make sure that you are working alongside a really effective clinical teacher and a clinical teacher who's prepared and open to having you and working alongside you. And sometimes we have to make some decisions to prioritize that than the other. So we really encourage you to stay very open, that you're going to be able to learn a lot from everywhere. We have such diverse experiences across our partnership, and the more open you are to imagining lots of possibilities and not being set on, I only want to be a second grade teacher, or I only want to teach 11th grade, that's just not feasible as you learn to become a teacher. You need to have experiences across the board. And then lastly, I know how challenging this is. We know the implications and the demands that it is to be a student, but it is also truly worth your investment to not be working during this program and during the professional year, and at the very minimum, absolutely not during the final internship. You really will be working like 60 hours a week as a teacher. And so we recognize that that can get complicated, and we really want you to reach out to us, and we are always trying to find as many opportunities as we can to secure grant money or additional scholarship money. Our financial aid office is really helpful to work with to get you access to additional funding so that you can really devote your attention to the hours that it will take to be an effective teacher and successfully complete the program.